An update now on a deadly house fire in Youngstown. Michelle Nix and Milena Spivak have been gathering more information. 21 News confirming now that 5 children are dead. Milena, what can you tell us?
Krista, yes, we just learned from the the fire chief that 5 children have passed away in this fire. Now, 3 were actually able to be transported and they died. They were actually able to get them out of the house, but 2, they did die inside the home. Now, the mother, she is still at St. Elizabeth. She is being treated for her injuries, but yes, we did just learn that 5 children has died in this fire on Park Cliff. Now, around 11:30 last night, a call came into 911 that there was a fire, and police, they arrived on the scene 2 minutes after that call, so they definitely did as much as they could do. But Michelle Nix, she was on the scene last night, and she will pick up the story from here. Take a look.
Youngstown firefighters immediately went to work trying to save 5 young children trapped in a burning home. Their ages, according to sources, just 9, 4, 3, 1, and 1.
Immediately after they knocked down the bulk of the fire, they begin what we call a primary search, and that's when they begin to find the victims.
Sources say the mother escaped the fire by jumping out of a window. Firefighters rescued 3 of the children and had to perform CPR. One Youngstown firefighter was injured and taken to St. Elizabeth's Hospital, along with 4 of the victims of the house fire, the mother and 3 of her children. Tragically, 2 of the youngest children died, and their bodies were removed from the scene by the coroner. For the firefighters who tried to save them, the images here are something they will never forget, especially just 2 weeks before Christmas.
It's extremely hard because we have a relatively young department, and most of the guys have children. And so it hits pretty hard, and the fact that it's so close to Christmas hits even harder. But I mean, we're firefighters, we're resilient, you know, we'll bounce back, but it's going to take some time.
The cause of the fire is under investigation. Youngstown's arson investigator, along with state arson investigators and Youngstown detectives, are working together to examine the evidence. But at this point, they have no reason to believe the fire was not accidental. With more local news, I'm Michelle Nix.
Michelle Nix, she was on the scene last night, but as I mentioned earlier, we did learn this morning that 5 children died in the fire on Park Cliff. So we will continue to follow this story throughout the morning, throughout the day, learning the names of the victims and learning more about this precious family so close to the holiday season. Very sad news. So our thoughts and prayers are going out to this family, and make sure you stay up to date on 21 News, our 21 News app, and the WFMJ.com website. Reporting from Youngstown with more local news, I'm Milena Spivak.
Thank you, Milena. The Youngstown Fire Department is also keeping an eye on the East Sidham after 2 vacant houses went up in flames over there last night. This first fire caught around 6:30 on South Forest Avenue. The blaze started on the 2nd floor. Crews on the scene decided to let this burn all the way down since this was a vacant structure. Then just a couple hours later, less than a mile away, Youngstown Fire battled this fire on South Truesdale Avenue. This was around 8 o'clock. The fire started in a vacant house after curtains on the top floor went up in flames. Firefighters say they've recently been to both of these houses several times. Both of those fires remain under investigation. On Saturday, we told you about the tragic story out of Newcastle where a 15-year-old was accidentally shot and killed by another teenager. Now his mother is speaking about this accident. Janet Rogers spoke with the victim's mom after losing her son and the message she has for those who have stepped up to help her.
In Newcastle, early Saturday morning, a shot is heard at 406 North Liberty. 15-year-old Zach Mulford drops to the floor. Life changed instantly for the victim's family after Zach and a friend went to hang out with friends. His 2 sisters, 5 brothers, father and mother, now in mourning.
Just hug your kids. Hug your kids every chance you get, because in a minute everything can change and they can be gone.
Police say Kyle Harris opened the door with a semi-automatic gun in his hand. When he saw who was there, he let them inside, removed the magazine from the gun, and he was clearing it. A bullet fired, striking the victim. Harris, who police say had a stolen gun, ran out the back door, but the friend who went with him to that home tried to help.
A friend stayed with him. We tried giving him CPR. That meant a lot to us.
Zach's mom says her son was a hardworking teen with his life ahead of him.
He was a wonderful kid. He loved band. He played the drums in band. He loved Newcastle and all his friends here. He loved robotics, and he was always drawing pictures and portraits and different art things.
Zach's sister, Kayla Smith, set up a GoFundMe site called Funeral Expenses for Zachary Mulford. On that site, teachers and others post about what a nice young man Zach was. His mom said they couldn't afford life insurance, and they never expected to bury their son.
I want to thank everybody that's donated to help me bury my son. This is not something I wanted to have to do, but I thank you so much for helping.
Harris, who eventually turned himself into police, is charged with involuntary manslaughter, aggravated assault, and receiving stolen property. With more local news, I'm Janet Rogers.
Thank you, Danielle. Let's get to national news now. Thousands of people in the southern part of the United States will be digging out of a winter storm. Heavy snow pummeled some parts of the East Coast over the weekend, leading to an extensive cleanup process. The storm system caused more than 200,000 people to be without electricity for an extended period of time. Governors from North Carolina and Virginia declared a state of emergency from that winter storm. President Trump still has not made a decision on the new White House Chief of Staff. Vice President Mike Pence's Chief of Staff, Nick Ayers, was the top pick to replace John Kelly. A White House official told CNN that he will not be taking the job because Trump and Ayers could not agree on terms. Sources say there was also resistance from the First Lady and some senior staff members about Ayers taking on that role. Meanwhile, President Trump has agreed to increase the defense budget. Defense Secretary James Mattis proposed an increased budget of $750 billion for the coming year. The current budget is $716 billion. President Trump made the decision after a meeting with Mattis and some other key GOP lawmakers last week. During a season of giving, it can be hard to hold some money back for yourself. And with only 2 weeks before Christmas, there's still time to get into some financial trouble. Chris Clackham explains.
It's become as traditional as the Christmas tree. Overspending on gifts, running up debt few of us can afford.
This year, 66 million Americans, again, 25% or so, are in fact going to go into debt during the holiday shopping season.
This just as a new NerdWallet survey finds 1 in 4 of us is still paying off the debt from last Christmas.
There's a tendency to get caught up in the holiday shopping spirit. The music, the festivity, the smells are encouraging you to spend, and retailers are pretty savvy about getting you to buy more.
So self-proclaimed money coach Lynette Calfani-Cox says to avoid debt, avoid store shopping, and avoid paying with a credit card.
My number one tip for avoiding debt is to pay with cash and to use online shopping as a way to help you avoid the temptation to overspend.
She also recommends a new resolution for the new year. Start saving for next year.
You know, saving just $50 a month. Well, in 12 months, that'll give you $600, and that'll be your holiday spending money for the December 2019 season.
Which could make it a debt-free holiday. Chris Clackham, NBC News.
Yesterday, pet owners had the chance to take their four-legged friends to get a nice old picture with good old St. Nick. Dozens of people took their dogs to the Southern Park Mall. All of that to pose for a picture with Santa Claus. Some pet owners we spoke to say that this has actually become a yearly tradition.
And we come every year, we bring our dogs out for their pictures with Santa Claus.
Well, we treat them like they're like our children. Well, my children. These are her grandchildren.
Well, this is our second shepherd. Our first shepherd, Brutus, we got his picture several times with Santa, and my wife just thought it'd be something nice to do for him.
We understand that pets are an important part of people's families, and we're trying to create memories for the entire family, and we just wanted to incorporate this into the whole Santa experience.
So dogs of all sizes actually sat on Santa's lap. Hopefully no Great Danes. That might be hard for Santa, but there also had a few therapy dogs that were at the event, spreading a little bit of Christmas cheer. Up next, celebrity chef Carla Hall is taking a break from the chew to give us an affordable recipe with a fantastic shelf life. Stick around.